he got to be known as the next Rich Little, doing all these impressions. He was getting some traction, doing well. He wakes up one day and says, I don't want to be the next Rich Little. I want to be the highest paid comedian in the world. I want to do movies. So he goes out that night, packed house at the Comedy Store, and instead of coming out and doing impressions, he starts doing wacky, crazy, zany Jim Carrey stuff. And it was not well received. They actually told him, I think he got booed, and the manager said, Jim, go home, we don't like you anymore, and if you don't change back, you're fired. He said he was so depressed. He said he walked home and thought about giving up the business, goes home, it's 2 in the morning, clicking through some channels, surfing, and he sees a show by a guy named Robert Schiller called The Hour of Power. And they were talking about acting as if you already are who you want to be. I'm going to repeat that. They were talking about acting as if you already are who you want to be. And instead, it just hit him. He said he took out his checkbook, and many of you heard this part of the story. He took out his checkbook, and he wrote himself a check to Jim Carrey, from Jim Carrey, in the amount of $10 million. And he posted it for 6 months. On the bottom of the where it says memo, he put for acting services rendered. To Jim Carrey, from Jim Carrey, post date 6 months, $10 million for acting services rendered. And he started bringing it and sharing it with everybody he met, friends, family, agents, actors. Hey, have you seen my check? 10 million, baby! And that sounds kind of funny because it's Jim Carrey. But if you went back home and said, yeah, we had this guy, Dan Lier, and what do you think about my check? They'd think you're kind of nuts. But see, remember what the definition of a belief is. The belief is a feeling of certainty. That's all it is. A belief is a feeling of certainty. What Jim Carrey said was this. He said, if I absolutely knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that in 6 months, boom, $10 million was going to my bank account. I mean, if I knew that was going to happen, how many hours would I spend making ridiculous faces in front of this mirror? How many auditions would I go after? How many people would I tell is the funniest man on the planet? How many no's would I be willing to hear if I knew that check was going to be good? And of course, the rest is history. He said prior to that time, he used to walk into these auditions in LA, and you can only imagine what that's like, seeing the same people. He'd walk in, you know, looking for a comedian for the next movie, and he'd, here we go again, same old thing. He'd do his thing, and he'd leave, and too bad he didn't get it. After that day, he said he wrote himself that check, and he walked in with a skip in his step, acting as if he knew that he was the highest paid comedian in the country. Little wacky, little zany, little skip in his step. He started booking business. And all of you know that his first big break, not long after that, he got a movie called Mask. And he got paid $10 million. The sad part about that was his father passed away right prior to the movie release, unfortunately. So Jim went to the funeral, took the check out of his checkbook, put it in the top of the casket, shut the door. True story. So I'm not telling you that story because it's Jim Carrey. I'm telling it because of all of you. I know you. I don't know you, obviously. But here's what I know about human beings. That no matter who you are and where you are in your life, all of us in this room have a certain vision of what we want to accomplish in our business or our life. True or not true? We have a certain vision of what we want to do in our business and our life. And I'm telling you right now, if you did nothing else today but walk out these doors and act as if you already are who you want to be, your life would never be the same. Because if you were the top performer in your industry, how would you walk? How would you talk? How would you treat people? If you were the best mother or the best father, how would you treat your kids? How much patience would you have? If you were the best partner or spouse, how loving, how caring would you be? If you were the top performer in your industry, what would you do? And just simply acting as if. Does that make sense, yes or no? Yes. Excellent.